Welcome back to La La Land on CRN Digital Talk. That's Nettie Liddell.
And that's Brett Chapin.
We have the pleasure today of talking with veteran stage and screen actor Mr. Robert Towers.
Hello.
And we also have the pleasure of speaking with stage and screen actress Kristin Towers-Rowles.
Hello. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for joining us,
for
guys.
having us. Wonderful people.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So Kristin and Robert are a father and daughter, and obviously the acting gene has been put into Kristin from Robert. So let me just start off talking a little bit to you about...
But not just from me. You got to remember it goes on the other side, too.
Yes,
So-
it does. Yeah. I was going to get to that too.
Okay.
But just to start off with you, you are a veteran stage and screen actor of over 60 years. Is that right?
Yes. I really started because I could read when I was very young.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents had a friend who was at CBS Radio in New York. And, you know, in those days, see, I'm very old. So in those days, there was such a thing as radio drama and comedy and music. You know, radio was more than, you know, than just music and talk. There was a lot of, you know. So they said, you know, wouldn't Bobby, it'd be nice if Bobby could get on the radio and really play a part. Because most children's parts were played by little boys were always played by little girls, because little girls were much more advanced and could read more, or you know, earlier, and or they were played by adults doing child voices. There was one lady, I've seen her work, I saw her work. She would just get on and cry like a baby. This woman, like in her 70s, and she would get on. And she would just cry like crazy all over the place, and made a lot of money doing that. So I was a novelty. So that's where I really started, and doing radio and things like that. And then when I came out to California, we started doing more stuff.
And you came out from where?
From New York City. That's
From
where
New
I was born. You can't hear the accent a little bit.
New
Yeah,
York
no, I
City.
picked up on it.
Yeah.
You know, out here everybody had schools with names. We had numbers: PS 152, PS 49
Yes,
in
yes.
Brooklyn, you know, and all those schools. So yeah.
So you came out to California
Came
from
out
New
to
York
from- I
and
was
started
12.
getting work right away. Was it pretty tough to get work in the beginning? How did that-
Yeah, I did a lot of school things because, you know, it was hard, and I had made some inroads in New York, but nothing here. And then just as time went by, people would come see stuff I did in school, and they would invite me to, you know, or I'd go to casting offices. I met a man out at Paramount. I remember the day I went out. I was about 18 at the time. And he said, "You look like 12." I said, "I know, because I'm, you know, only 5'3", and I was even shorter then." And he said, "You look like 12. I can't use you, you know. You know, I discovered William Holden, you know." And he would go on and on. So it took a while, because I did look much younger than my age.
Sure.
Now it's helping.
Yeah, you still do look much younger than your age.
Yeah, now it's helping. Yeah, 'cause if I look at least 50, I'm in good shape, you know. So, but at that time it was very difficult. So being younger and smaller, but eventually things happen, you know. And my lucky break, I think, although I did a lot of things all the way along the line, my lucky break was getting a show called You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown in 1968.
Yes.
And to the original Los Angeles company with Gary Burkhoff and Judy Kay. And we were all still friends after all these years. We just had a 30-some-odd year reunion last year. And Gary couldn't be there because
40, but you know who's counting.
That's right. Well, you get old, you can't count anymore. You can't think. So we had this, and we called Gary Burkhoff in New York. Actually, he lives in Florida now, and he had a heart attack last year, which I didn't know anything about. And we talked to him, and we were going to all sing. That was the funny part. We were all going to sing the song from the show called Happiness. And one of us got at the piano, and there was an arpeggio, and we started to go, "Happiness is," and nobody could remember any lyrics.
It happens. It happens. You've been away
But we
from
love
it
you
for a
anyway.
while.
Yeah, we love you anyway, Gary. We said, but we can't sing anymore.
I love that story.
But it always happens. It happened in the show too. There were times we couldn't remember. You know, you do a show. We'd do 8 shows a week on that show. You know, it was an equity show, and we did it for 2 years here, and then another year or so on the road. And so you would have one night when it was starting to be automatic, and suddenly you'd start to go, and what was I supposed to say? Did I already say that?
The actor's nightmare.
Pretty much.
It's
Yeah.
long
Sometimes
runs
it
of
happens.
shows do that to you. You know,
Yeah,
so.
I can imagine.
But from
And
then on, I got me an agent. Doing that show got me some attention, and from then I began to work.
And you went from working on the stage version of Your Good Man Charlie Brown
the animated
to
version.
the animated version, where you were the very first and only person to ever give Snoopy a voice. Is that right?
Yeah, it was chosen by Charles Schulz too. I hear music going on. Is that a cue?
Yeah, that's your
Well, you gotta
playoff
start talking to
music.
Kristin. So
Yeah, we will.
okay.
I'm not as interested. Well, we'll be back very soon to do that.
Yes, we're going to be back to talk to the incredibly interesting Kristin Towers-Rowles and the incredibly interesting Robert Towers. Stage and screen actors, father and daughter, and our friends on La La Land with Brett and Nett on CRN Digital Talk.
On Broadway.